In this lecture, I will discuss about some other protocols existed at network layer like ARP, RARP, ICMP and IGMP. As we have seen that IP addresses make the addressing uniform on the internet. Routing of packets is done using the IP address of the packet. However, communication in a local network is broadcast, which is done using physical address. Therefore, when the packet reaches the destined network, there must be a process of obtaining the physical address corresponding to its IP address of a computer in order to finally delivery of datagram to the destined computer. The physical address corresponding to an IP address is resolved by using address resolution protocol. ARP maps given IP address to a physical address. It takes host IP address as input and gives its physical address as output. ARP assumes that every host knows its IP address and physical address. Anytime a host needs to know the physical address of another host on the network, it creates an ARP packets that includes the IP address of the destination host, asking, "Are you the one whose IP address is this? Yes, please send back. If yes, please send back your physical address." This packet is then broadcast over the local network. The computer whose IP address matches with that IP address send a ARP reply packet with its physical address. All the other hosts ignore the broadcast. Next time the host needs to send a datagram to the same destination, it need not broadcast an ARP query datagram. Instead, it can look up in its ARP cache. If the mapping is not found in the cache, then only the broadcast message is sent. As I discussed, the mapping problem deals with the converting internet address to physical address. Consider two machines, suppose M1 and M2 with internet address I1 and I2 and physical addresses P1 and P2. The objective of ARP is to evolve a software that hides physical address details from higher layer or higher level application program that interact through the internet by using the internet address. Resolution of address are required both at the destination computer and the intermediate router level. This is solved by two resolution schemes, namely resolution through direct mapping and another one is resolution through dynamic banding. With the direct mapping scheme, the resolution is trivial due to the fact that part of the IP and the physical address are identical. So for a computer whose internet address is suppose 192.10.46.5, the physical address of the computer would be 5. That is, the IP address assignment in such case would follow a serialized ordering such as 1, 2, 3 for the host ID portion of the address. Finally, when network interface hardware is installed, the physical address follow a part of the IP addressing scheme. Mapping the direct and requires extraction of the host portion of IP address. This is efficient and easier to maintain as it requires no external data manipulation. New computers can be included without affecting the existing assignment. So direct mapping resolution aims at selecting a function that maps an IP address to a physical address. That is, function P of A may be equals to functions of IA. I means IP address and PA means physical address. However, such a simple scheme might not suitable for an ATM network, in which case other efficient mapping are followed. In such a case, IA that is IP address, and PA, that is physical address. Details are stored in multiple computers or servers as tables in the memory for efficient and quick searching. Resolution follows hash-based searching to locate the correct physical address for a specified internet address. Dynamic binding based resolution. With Ethernet-based network technologies, the problem is that their 48-bit physical address is generated by the manufacturer, and as a result, the machine's physical address is depending on its Ethernet interface. With Ethernet interface replacement being a realistic requirement due to hardware failure, efficient resolution schemes are needed. Another limitation observed with Ethernet technology is that encoding of 48-bit address in a limited 32-bit internet address is not possible. This issue was overcome by the designers of TCP/IP by following a dynamic address binding mechanism. This avoids table information maintenance and external centralized database requirement, and allow for network extension without any modification. The address resolution protocol offers efficient and easy resolution mechanism. A host H1 that wishes to resolve the internet address I2 broadcast a special packet to all hosts including S2 to respond with the physical address of I2. Since only S2 can recognize its IP address I2, it responds to H1's request with its physical address, that is P2. To bring down a transmission cost, computers that follow ARP maintains a cache recently requested IP addresses to physical address binding. Thus, IP address and physical address of an ARP request is stored in the cache to successive retrieval of lookups. The next time when an ARP request is made, first the cache is searched for the required physical address. If it is found, the broadcasting is avoided. Thus, when two computers communicate, they start transmission with an ARP, and for repeated transfer, they avoid the ARP by referring to the cache. However, the ARP cache is also not without problem. It can potentially lead to a state in which the information in the cache can become stale or erroneous without warning. For example, in an Ethernet technology-based network, if C1, a computer C1 issues an ARP and computer C2 respond with its physical address, the information about the internet and physical address gets stored in the cache. A problem arises when, after responding to C1's request, C2 fails, possibly due to the media crash. C1 is never notified of the crash, and as a further C1 to C2 transmission would be based on the cache. C1 keeps transmitting packets to C2 despite C2's crash. This problem arises due to the fact that the Ethernet is not guaranteed delivery mechanism, and hence the host computer C1 will never be updated on the indirect ARP cache, leading to stale or incorrect cache and transmission setup. The way out from the stale states of the cache, which is called the soft state solution, is to devise a timer based caching mechanism. Once address binding information is written to the cache, a timer is started. Further transmission requests involving the same pairs of machines use the cache information until the timer expires, at which point the information in the cache is deleted. Further transmission requests follow the normal ARP broadcast principles and cache updations. During this ARP request, if the destination is unreachable, the sender is updated about the states. The key advantage of soft state solutions are the source can revalidate ARP cache independent of destination. Dependence on network hardware for reliable transmission is nil, and destination target down situations can always be determined independent of the transmission status. The primary disadvantage of the timer-based soft state solution is that destination target down situations cannot be correctly determined until the timer duration elapses. Till the end of the portion of the time for which timer is valid, it is assumed that the destination target is up to and functional. A few of the modifications to the basic ARP are as follows. When a host H1 sends a ARP request to another host H2, there is a future possibility of H2 wishing to communicate to H1. Thus, when H2 responds to H1 with its physical address, this process leads to the updating of H1's ARP cache, as well as the updating of ARP cache on H2 with H1's binding information, namely the internet and physical addresses. This would help to avoid further broadcast when H2 attempts to communicate with H1 and thus eventually bring down communication cost. Another modification possible is that because H1's request is broadcast to all hosts on the network, the other host in the network can also update their cache suitably with H1's binding to add future communication with H1. The third modification is required in situation of hardware change or failure of the host, which would require that the new physical address is broadcast to all hosts to update their ARP cache entry suitably. Implementations of ARP. ARP consists of two parts, namely IP address to physical address, mapping for packet transmission, and handling of replies from other machines. Address mapping is done by consulting the ARP cache to check if the binding is already stored in the cache. If so, the software extracts the physical addresses from the cache, places the data in the frame and transmits it. If not in the cache, the software must broadcast the ARP to other machines in the network. Chances are that the target machine does not respond either due to failure or busy state. The host stores the original packets so that in case of loss of initial ARP request, further data transmission and address resolution is possible. In between, all these hosts allow other application programs to proceed while waiting for the cache ARP request. The software should be intelligent enough in not broadcasting multiple ARP requests for the same target addresses. In case of application program, generate ARP requests for the same address. To avoid stale state condition, the ARP cache is updated on timer based logic, so that the situation of the sender having to wait for eternity as the target goes down after ARP cache update is not encountered. The other responsibility of ARP cache handles ARP packets are replies from the network on the receipt of the packet. The software extracts the IP and physical addresses of the sender and checks if the entry is present in the cache. If the entry exists for the IP address, the physical address is updated to the address just received. When ARP request arrives, the receiver checks if it is target of the request. If so, the receiver responds with its address binding to the sender and update its cache with the sender's address binding information. If address does not match with the local address, the request is understood to pertain to some other machines on the network and so is ignored. Between the time duration of ARP request, transmission and address binding reply, there can be additional request for the same address that is generated by the other application programs that are allowed by the host in this time interval. Such requests are put in the queue, and on address resolution for the first request, the packets are placed in frame with their destination addresses resolved and retransmitted. Such requests are put in the queue and an address resolution for the first request, and packets are placed in the frames with their destination address resolved and transmitted. Reverse address resolution protocol. This protocol performs the job exactly opposite to ARP. It maps a physical address to its IP address. Where is this needed? A node is supposed to have its IP address stored in its hard disk. However, there is a situation when the host may not have hard disks at all. For example, a diskless workstation. But also when a host is being connected to the network for the first time, at all such times a host does not know its IP address. In that case, RIRP means reverse address resolution protocols find out the IP address, and this process you can see in the slide. Address resolution schemes are necessary because of the requirements that application programs operate on IP addresses, while hosts and routers operate on hardware or physical addresses, which are hardware dependent, thereby requiring a mapping scheme from IP address to physical addresses. IP addresses stored in secondary memory are located by the operating system during startup. Machines that do not have a permanent disk and boot from a remote file server identify their IP addresses on the basis of some addresses resolution protocol. The operating system image that has the specific IP address in its code cannot be used on multiple computers. Instead of recompiling code because of IP address variation, the bootstrap code that exists in the ROM, that is read-only memory, takes care of installing of the same image on multiple machines. The task of identifying the correct IP address is left to the network, which has to contact a server and get the addresses. This might look ambiguous in the sense that communication with the remote server is carried out to obtain an address for future communication. The initial communication is based on physical network addressing. This is done temporarily till the IP address is acquired. The server, on receipt of request for the address identification, looks at its address database table stored on a disk and responds with its IP address. Since the physical address of the server is unknown, the transmission is based on broadcast. The address request is sent to multiple machines on the network. One or more servers respond with the address information. The task of uniquely identify the machines is also crucial for the server to identify the machine and to retrieve its address. This unique identification could be based on hardware information such as the CPU serial number. Whatever be the choice, it should be easily obtainable by an application program. But retrieval of CPU serial number might not always be uniform across different processor models, since this might require offering instructions and also varying format across model. Now we will discuss the features of reverse address resolution protocol. As we have discussed, limitations concerning the need to uniquely identify machines or local addresses can be overcome by indexing them on the basis of the machine's physical network address. The physical network address can always be easily obtained from the network interface hardware. And since it is only network dependent, the other limitations of being modeled or hardware specific is also overcome. Thus, RIRP aims at mapping a given physical network address to an internet addresses through a server, which is the reverse operations of ARP. The TCP/IP protocol that allows a machine to obtain its internet address from a server is known as reverse address resolution protocol. An RIRP message is encapsulated in the data portion of the network frame and transmitted from one machine to another. An Ethernet frame carrying an RIRP message obtains the general header, the Ethernet source and the destination addresses and packet type fields. The frame type identifies that the message in an RARP message and the data portion of the frame obtains a 28 octets RARP message. The working of RARP is you can see in slide. The sender broadcast an RARP message identifying itself, both sender and target. This is done so as to specify the physical network address in the target hardware address field. The machine on the network that are authorized to process an RARP request responds with the requisite address. Such machines are referred to as RARP servers, and networks must support a base minimum of one RARP server to allow RARP requests. Servers respond by filling the target protocol address field with the internet address and changing the message type from request to reply. Communication between machines and server or retrieve IP address occurs at the physical network address level. Local address information, which is contained in the Ethernet frame header is directly not accessible by the operating system, and hence this information is duplicated in the sender's hardware address field. RARP communicates similar to ARP, are susceptible to loss which can be due to corruption as indicated by the CRC or server failure. RARP is normally chosen for local area networks where the probability of failure is low. The limitations of a LAN could be that there exists only one RARP server, potentially leading to a server overload scenario. The host decide either to wait indefinitely for a server response or notify failure after a specific time period to avoid unnecessary broadcast traffic on the network. Though LANs are less susceptible to failure compared to overload, a large time delay ensures less flooding of the network and sufficient time for the servers to respond with the address. The situation where multiple RARP servers exist in the network can lead to problem of multiple servers responding to with the address information, leading to network collision. The primary reason for multiple server maintenance is to handle situations such as a server being down or heavily overloaded with RARP request. This ensures that the request will be answered with a high probability and will always be available. To overcome the collision problem and the cost of multiple simultaneous replies, time logic is used. By delaying response from multiple servers, one can ensure that the communication is both reliable and available. One solution is to make one of the server is the primary server. When an RARP request arrives, it is this server that handles the request. The other server only records the request and its arrival time. Under circumstances of the primary server being down or overloaded, the sender machine will rebroadcast after the certain timeout. Rebroadcasting should be monitored by delaying mechanism so as to ensure that a machine doesn't broadcast again before it receives a reply from some servers. When non-primary servers receives this second request in quick succession to the first request, one of them respond. To avoid the problem of all non-primary servers responding at the same point in time, non-primary servers respond after a random delay. This delay ensures that not all replies arrive at the same time. These techniques does include a server time delay before the request machine received the reply. Internet Control Message Protocol. IP is best effort data delivery protocol. It means that IP makes best effort of delivering a datagram from source to destination. However, it does not guarantee that the datagram would be delivered correctly. IP has no error reporting mechanism. A router or the final destination needs to inform the source if it must discard a datagram. IP also lacks a mechanism for host and management queries. A host sometimes needs to determine if a router or another host is alive to avoid sending datagrams to a router which is down. ICMP has been designed to report errors occurred during delivery of datagram. The error reported by ICMPs are generally related to datagram processing. ICMP only reports error involving fragment 0 of any fragmented datagram. The IP, UDP or TCP protocols will usually take actions based on ICMP. ICMP generally belongs to the IP layers of TCP/IP but relies on IP for support at the network layer. ICMP messages are encapsulated inside IP datagram. ICMP will report the following network informations like timeouts, network congestions, network error such as unreachable host or network. The ping command is also supported by ICMP and this can be used to debug network problems. IP achieves unreliable connectionless datagram delivery by using routers to forward datagrams. A datagram on received, it checks for destination address match. If a match exists, the datagram is left with the respective host or router for further processing, or else if it is a router that is not able to obtain a match, the datagram is forwarded to other routers. If a router encounters some errors and further routing action is not possible, there should be an appropriate message notification to the original source that initiated the datagram transfer. Routers operate in the connectionless systems without any coordination with the original datagram sender. Since real-time networks are bound to suffer from errors and exceptions conditions, this optimistic assumptions often doesn't work. Erroneous condition could be due to communication line failure, processor failure, or disconnection of the destination machine. In the case of single network, this responsibility of notification can be left to the special hardware added to inform attached host. This is not possible with an internet setup as features are not provided in IP. To handle such situations, hence the networking debugging become a difficult task. To overcome such kind of problems, TCP/IP supports a special purpose messaging mechanism, that is Internet Control Message Protocol. This is a mandatory part of every IP implementations so that routers can be empowered to report error messages in case of any failure. ICMP messages are carried in the data portion of the internet datagram. These messages are similar to other internet messages with the difference that the recipient of the ICMP message is not an application or user on some destination, but the IP software on the host. ICMP messages are not restricted only to routers but can be sent to any other host as well. Thus, ICMP messages can be forwarded to either routers or host in a unified fashion. The reason behind such a logic is to have a uniform mechanism in place for handling all control messages. ICMP messages. ICMP messages consist of an 8-bit type, an 8-bit code, an 8-bit checksum, and content which vary depending on the code and type. ICMP is used for many different functions, the most important of which is error reporting. Some of these are like error which we receive, a message which we receive, port unreachable, host unreachable, network unreachable, destination network unknown, and destination host unknown. Some are not related to errors are, that is timestamp request and reply allow one system to ask another one for the current time. Address mask and reply is used by the diskless workstation to get its subnet marks at boot time. Echo request and echo reply is used by the ping program to see if another host is reachable. Thus, two types of ICMP messages are defined: error message and query message. Source quench message. When datagram arrive too quickly for processing, the destination host or an intermediate gateway send an ICMP source quench message back to the sender. This message instructs the source to stop sending datagram temporarily. For this purpose, source quench message is used. Redirect routes. A gateway sends the ICMP redirect message to tell a host to use another gateway. Presumably, because the other gateway is a better choice. This message can only be used when the source host is on the same network as both gateway. Now I will discuss about error handling mechanism in ICMP. The two usual approaches of error handling are to notify or report errors and to suggest error correction. ICMP is largely an error reporting protocol. When routers encounter error, they are able to direct and notify errors to the original source using ICMP. ICMP is used to handle mainly errors occurring at the source end. However, in real-time network, error can occur either in the intermediate routing states or in the routers. ICMP cannot be used to report error message to router. That is in the situation where the datagram is accidentally forwarded to router, that is R2 instead of R1. R2 cannot use ICMP to report the error to R1. They can be used only to report messages or errors to the original source. Also, the source is just notified and has no controls over the errors that occurs in the router. The source cannot even identify the routers which actually caused the bottleneck. The reason behind not allowing messages to be reported to routers is that the datagram fields contains only the source and destination details and not anything about the path through the internet. Hence, the routers will not be able to identify the intermediate machines to which the source wants to report a message. Another issue is that routers change routing tables dynamically and no global routers data is available. The principle behind routing the message back to the original source is that debugging will then on be performed by the network and host administrator in coordination with each other, as opposed to the completely optimistic setup of either assuming that no errors will occur or ignoring erroneous condition when in fact they should be handled. The Internet Group Management Protocol. IGMP runs between the host and their immediately neighboring multicast router. The mechanism of this protocol allows a host to inform its local router and it wishes to receive transmission addressed to a specific multicast group. Also, routers periodically query the LAN to determine if knows the group member are still active. If there is more than one router on the LAN performing IP multicasting, one of the routers is elected as a querier and assume the responsibility of querying the LAN is for group members. Based on the group membership information learned from the IGMP, a router is able to determine which multicast traffic needs to be forwarded to each of its leaf subnet masks. Multicast routers uses this information in conjunction with a multicast routing protocol to support IP multicasting across the internet. IGMP version 1 was specified in RFC 1112. According to the specification, multicast routers periodically transmit host membership query messages to determine which host group have members on their directly attached network. Query messages are addressed to the all host groups and have an IP TTL, that is time to leave, equals to 1. This means that query messages sourced by the routers are transmitted across the directly attached subnetwork but are not forwarded by another multicast router. When a host receives a query message, it responds with the host membership reports for each host group to which it belongs. In order to avoid the flurry of reports, each host starts a randomly chosen report delay timer for each of its group members. If during the delay period another report is heard for the same group, the local host cancels its report for the group. Otherwise, the host transmits a report to the reported group address, causing all other membership of the group to cancel their report message. This procedure guarantees that reports are spread out over a period of time and that only one report is generated for each group with at least one membership on the subnetwork. It should be noted that the multicast routers do not need to directly address, since their interfaces are configured to receive all multicast IP traffic. Also, a router does not need to maintain a detailed list of which host belongs to each multicast group. The router only needs to know that at least one group member is present on a network interface. Multicast routers periodically transmit query to update their knowledge of the group member present on each network interface. If the router does not receive a report for a particular group after a number of queries, the router assumes that the group members are so longer present on the interface and the group is removed from the list of group membership for the directly attached subnetwork. When a host first joins a group, it immediately transmits a report for the group rather than waiting for a router query. This guarantees that the host will receive traffic address to the group if it is the first member of that group on the subnetwork. So as I have discussed the many protocols at internet layer, that is address resolution protocol, reverse address resolution protocol, ICMP and IGMP.